Before the world knew China as a vast empire of emperors, scholars, warriors, and silk, there was a dynasty that shaped it all, the Han. Emerging from the chaos of collapsing kingdoms and brutal civil wars, the Han Dynasty rose with a promise: to rebuild, to unify, and to redefine what a civilization could become. This was the age when Confucian philosophy became the foundation of government, when paper, steelmaking, and astronomy advanced beyond anything the ancient world had seen. When merchants, explorers, and diplomats opened the first great arteries of global trade, the Silk Road, linking China to Central Asia, Persia, India, and even the distant Roman Empire. It was an era of innovation, ambition, and power, but also of human stories: farmers tilling fertile river valleys, artisans firing brilliant ceramics, soldiers guarding the frontiers, and scholars shaping the future through ideas that still influence the world today. The Han Dynasty was not just a chapter in history, it was the blueprint for the next 2,000 years of East Asian civilization. And tonight, we travel back to the dawn of Imperial China to witness the birth of an age that changed the world, the founding of the Han Dynasty. When the Qin Dynasty collapsed under rebellion and tyranny, China fell once again into chaos. Warlords clashed, kingdoms rose and fell, and the fate of the land hung in the balance. Amid this turmoil emerged a man no one expected to change history: Liu Bang, a low-born peasant from the fields of Pei County. He was not a noble, not a general, not a scholar, yet he possessed something far more valuable: a natural charisma that drew people to him and a vision for a fairer, more humane rule. His greatest rival was the legendary warrior Xiang Yu, a figure celebrated for unmatched strength and battlefield brilliance. Their struggle, the epic Chu-Han contention, became one of the most dramatic power struggles in ancient Chinese history. For years, armies marched across the land, alliances fractured, heroes rose and perished. But in the end, it was Liu Bang's resilience, strategy, and ability to win the hearts of common people that secured his victory. In 202 BCE, he ascended the throne and became Emperor Gaozu, founding the Han Dynasty. Unlike the harsh, centralized rule of the Qin, Liu Bang believed in a lighter touch. Early Han governance embraced Confucian wisdom, reducing taxes, easing punishments, and allowing local communities to recover from years of war. Cities were rebuilt, irrigation canals restored, and fields once ravaged by conflict flourished again. For the first time in generations, ordinary people could breathe, rebuild, and hope. This new dynasty laid the foundation for what would become one of the longest and most influential eras in Chinese history. An empire built not on fear, but on stability, cooperation, and the promise of prosperity. The birth of the Han Dynasty was not just the rise of another ruling family. It was the rebirth of China itself, Emperor Wu and the Age of Expansion. If Liu Bang gave birth to the Han Dynasty, it was Emperor Wu, Han Wudi, who transformed it into a true superpower. Ruling for more than half a century, he was a leader of ambition, discipline, and relentless drive. Under his command, the Han Empire surged outward, reshaping the map of Asia. At the northern frontier, the nomadic Xiongnu Confederation had long threatened Chinese borders. Earlier kings paid tribute, hoping to avoid war. But Emperor Wu refused. He rebuilt the cavalry, trained new armies, and launched daring campaigns deep into the steppe. Generals like Wei Qing and Huo Qubing rode across vast grasslands, striking powerful blows that shattered Xiongnu dominance. For the first time, the Han Dynasty stood unchallenged in the north. To the west, Emperor Wu looked beyond the deserts and mountains that had isolated China for centuries. He sent the explorer Zhang Xian on a journey that opened the gates to Central Asia. Through him, the Han court learned of new kingdoms, new cultures, and powerful forces that would one day become the backbone of imperial armies. This mission laid the groundwork for what would become the Silk Road, a network connecting China to Persia, India, and eventually the Roman world. Within the empire, Emperor Wu strengthened central authority. He standardized laws, controlled salt and iron industries, and promoted Confucianism as the ideology of the state. Schools flourished, classical texts were restored, and scholars rose to new prominence. But his reign was also complex, marked by heavy taxes, long wars, and immense national spending. Yet despite its burdens, Emperor Wu's era remains one of the most transformative in Chinese history. He expanded the boundaries of the realm, opened China to the world, and forged a government model that endured for millennia. Under Han Wudi, the Han Dynasty didn't just grow stronger, it became an empire worthy of legend. Daily life and society in the Han era. Beyond emperors, generals, and great battles, the Han Dynasty was built on the daily lives of millions of ordinary people. Across fertile river valleys and growing cities, a unique and vibrant civilization began to take shape. One that would define Chinese society for centuries. Most people were farmers, living in wooden courtyard homes surrounded by fields of millet, wheat, and newly introduced crops. Their tools improved dramatically during the Han era. Stronger iron plows, efficient water wheels, and new irrigation canals supported booming harvests. Life was simple, but stable, and for many, more peaceful than in the turbulent years before the Han unification. In towns and cities, artisans and merchants thrived. Blacksmiths forged iron tools and weapons, potters shaped elegant ceramics, silk weavers created fabrics so fine that foreign traders considered them treasures. These craftsmen gave Han China its economic strength, producing goods that traveled thousands of miles along early Silk Road routes. Scholars held a special place in society. Guided by Confucian teachings, they studied ethics, history, and governance. The Han Dynasty began developing a merit-based bureaucracy, where intelligence and moral character mattered as much as birthright. This idea that the state should be guided by learned officials would become a defining feature of Chinese civilization. Families were the heart of social life. Filial piety, respect for elders, and ancestral traditions shaped everyday interactions. Festivals filled the calendar with celebrations, from lantern displays to rituals honoring the heavens and the earth. Music, poetry, and storytelling echoed through streets, markets, and palace halls. Meanwhile, merchants carried goods through desert caravans and riverboats, connecting China with cultures far beyond its borders. Their journeys would soon open a new global age of exchange. In the Han era, daily life was a blend of tradition and innovation, hardship and hope. It was here, in homes, fields, workshops, and bustling markets, that the identity of the Chinese people truly took form. The Silk Road and the Han World Order. For the first time in human history, a single empire connected the Pacific to the Mediterranean, and that empire was Han China. Under Emperor Wu, the Han court launched expeditions, diplomatic missions, and military campaigns that transformed East Asia into the heart of a global network. It began with one man, Zhang Qian, a diplomat sent westward to search for allies against the nomadic Xiongnu. What he found was something far greater. Advanced kingdoms, powerful horses, and rich cultures stretching across Central Asia. His reports would forever reshape China's worldview. From these discoveries came the birth of something legendary, the Silk Road. Through this vast corridor, Chinese silk reached Rome. Spices and glassware flowed east, and ideas, Buddhism, astronomy, cartography, and new technologies crossed deserts and mountains. The world became more connected, and China stood at the center of it. But the Silk Road was more than trade. It was geopolitics. Han generals fought brutal wars across the western regions to secure the routes. Forts were built, protectorates were established, and alliances were forged with distant tribes. Through both diplomacy and military strength, the Han Dynasty created a sphere of influence that stretched thousands of miles. A system historians now call the Han World Order, and this order shaped everything. It expanded China's cultural identity. It drew foreign artisans, scholars, and ambassadors into the imperial court. It established China's role as a global superpower long before the term existed. In the West, Roman writers spoke of a mysterious empire called Syrica, the land of silk. In the East, China saw itself as the center of the civilized world. And along the Silk Road, their worlds quietly met, one caravan at a time. Yamika's science, technology, and cultural achievements. If you want to understand why the Han Dynasty is often compared to Rome, you only need to look at its science, technology, and culture. The Han era wasn't just powerful, it was inventive. It reshaped how China thought, recorded knowledge, and understood the universe itself. Let's start with something deceptively simple: paper. Before paper, knowledge was carved on bamboo, etched on wood, or written on expensive silk. But during the Han Dynasty, an official named Kai Lun introduced a new material made from trees, bark, hemp, and scraps of cloth. It was cheap, light, durable, and it changed the world. Paper democratized information. It allowed ideas, government records, literature, and philosophy to spread faster than ever. Without it, China's massive bureaucracy might never have functioned. But paper wasn't the only breakthrough. Han scholars also pushed the boundaries of astronomy. They mapped constellations, tracked comets, and created detailed star charts more sophisticated than anything in Europe for centuries to come. They developed instruments to measure the movement of the heavens and even built the world's first seismoscope, capable of detecting earthquakes hundreds of miles away. In medicine, Han physicians compiled encyclopedic texts on herbs, acupuncture, anatomy, and diagnostics. They observed patterns in illness, experimented with treatments, and wrote theories that influenced Asian medicine for 2,000 years. Remedies they recorded, from ginseng tonics to moxibustion techniques, are still referenced today. The Han also refined mathematics and calendrical science, which were crucial for agriculture, taxation, and governance. They calculated planetary cycles, improved the calendar, and advanced geometry and algebra to solve problems related to engineering, farming, and trade. Their map of the Western regions shows remarkable knowledge of Central Asia, proving how deeply the Silk Road shaped their worldview. But perhaps the most influential shift was cultural. This was the age when Confucianism became the official state ideology. Emperor Wu institutionalized Confucian teachings as the moral foundation of the empire. Scholars studied the 5 classics. Ethics became political doctrine, and merit-based exams slowly emerged, the early form of China's legendary civil service system. Confucianism taught order, duty, hierarchy, and harmony, shaping not only government policies but the entire cultural identity of China for 2 millennia. Together, these achievements, paper, astronomy, medicine, mathematics, geography, philosophy, formed the intellectual backbone of Han civilization. They made the empire stable, educated, and forward-thinking, and they laid foundations so enduring that much of East Asia's cultural and scientific development can be traced back to this single dynasty. The world remembers the Han Dynasty for its might, its diplomacy, and its vast borders. But its greatest legacy may be this: it expanded not just China's territory, but China's mind, government, law, and the imperial system. The Han Dynasty was more than armies and emperors. It was a revolution in governance. After the chaos of the Qin collapse, the Han rulers understood that a strong empire required not just borders, but laws, institutions, and systems that could endure centuries. At the heart of the state was a growing bureaucracy. Officials were selected based on talent, virtue, and knowledge of Confucian classics rather than merely noble birth. This early merit-based system, though imperfect, laid the groundwork for China's famous civil service exams, a system that would shape government for the next 2,000 years. The Han legal system balanced order and humanity. Harsh punishments of the Qin were softened, yet laws were enforced consistently to protect peasants and merchants alike. Taxation was standardized. State monopolies controlled salt, iron, and other vital resources, and agricultural estates were organized to ensure both food security and economic stability. The dynasty also perfected the imperial structure that defined China for millennia. Provinces were governed by central appointed officials, while local leaders managed daily affairs under strict supervision. This balance between central authority and local autonomy allowed the Han to maintain control over vast territories stretching from the Korean Peninsula to Central Asia. Through these reforms, the Han Dynasty created a durable, organized, and centralized empire capable of surviving both internal rebellions and external threats. Its system of government, law, and taxation was not just a temporary solution. It became the blueprint for Imperial China, influencing dynasties long after the Han had fallen. The Han didn't just unify a country, they built an empire with a mind of its own. a system designed to endure, to govern, and to define what it meant to rule China for the centuries to come. Crisis, division, and the end of Han rule. Even the mightiest empires can crumble from within. By the late Han Dynasty, the empire that had once unified China and opened the Silk Road faced internal decay and political chaos. A growing problem was the rise of powerful eunuchs and court factions. These men, once servants of the emperor, began to manipulate imperial succession, influence decisions, and amass wealth and authority. Noble families and regional warlords exploited these divisions, turning palace intrigue into civil unrest. Meanwhile, the burdens of heavy taxation and long military campaigns weighed on farmers and common people. Large estates owned by aristocrats and wealthy officials drained rural resources, causing widespread discontent. Peasant rebellions erupted, the most famous being the Yellow Turban Rebellion, a massive uprising fueled by famine, corruption, and frustration with the imperial system. The Han central government struggled to maintain control. Governors and generals acted independently, armies fractured, and provinces became semi-autonomous. Borders that had once been defended by disciplined Han armies now faced threats from nomadic tribes and internal warlords. By 220 CE, after centuries of glory, the Han Dynasty officially ended. China fractured into 3 kingdoms, setting the stage for decades of conflict and heroism. Yet, despite the fall, the Han legacy endured. The bureaucracy, Confucian principles, legal systems, and cultural achievements remained, influencing every dynasty that followed. The end of the Han was not just a collapse. It was a transformation, a turning point that marked the transition from a unified empire to a landscape of regional powers, epic stories, and legends that continue to captivate the world today. The lasting legacy of the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty shaped China in ways that still resonate today. It was an empire of vision and innovation, where science, technology, and culture flourished, where law, bureaucracy, and Confucian ideals created a framework for governance that lasted for centuries, where trade and diplomacy connected East and West, laying the foundations for a truly global exchange. Though it fell more than 1,800 years ago, the Han legacy endures. Its art, literature, philosophy, and political structures influenced every dynasty that followed. It gave China its identity, its institutions, and a standard of civilization admired across the world. The story of the Han Dynasty is not only the story of a powerful empire, it is the story of human ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring desire to build a world greater than the sum of its parts.